I wake up to my phone alarm buzzing at 6:30 a.m., as usual. It feels like there's no escape from the constant demands on my time, my energy, and my mind. I roll over, glance at my bank account, and then sigh. The balance is a reminder that the reality of my finances hasn't changed, despite my best efforts to make things work. I get up, shuffle to the bathroom, and start my day. I'm 26, and I already feel like I'm drowning in a system that I don't know how to navigate. My job doesn't pay nearly enough to cover all my expenses, but I can't afford to leave it. I'm a marketing coordinator at a small firm. Honestly, it's not a bad job, but the pay is just disappointing. Every paycheck feels like it's already been spent before it even hits my account. I'm still living in the same apartment I moved into 3 years ago, a place that's getting more expensive every year but feels like the only affordable option left. Even though my rent is relatively low for this area, it eats up a third of my income. The rest is split between student loans, utilities, and barely enough to buy groceries. It's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind, especially when I see friends on social media, traveling to new places, buying new clothes, living in nicer places. I don't even go out to dinner anymore because it feels like an unnecessary luxury. Instead, I make meals at home, trying to make my groceries last as long as possible. I've gotten pretty good at stretching things, cooking pasta for days, making big batches of soup, anything to avoid running out of food. But it's not just food that I'm cutting corners on. I've canceled every subscription service I had, from Netflix to Spotify, and I haven't bought new clothes in over 6 months. The hardest part isn't the financial strain itself, it's the emotional toll it takes. The constant worry, the anxiety that comes with knowing I'm barely getting by. Some nights, I can't sleep because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to pay my rent next month. I've set up payment plans with my student loan provider, but the interest keeps growing, and I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. I can't even get ahead enough to start saving. I've been trying to build an emergency fund for months, but every time I manage to save a few $100s, something comes up. My car breaks down, my phone starts glitching, or a medical bill comes out of nowhere. And every time that happens, I'm back to square one. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone, that so many people are struggling, especially with the way the economy is right now. Inflation is a constant presence, driving prices higher on just about everything. It's hard to feel hopeful when it seems like the system is rigged against you. The job market feels increasingly unstable, wages don't match the rising cost of living, and the dream of owning a home feels more like a fantasy every day. It's a sinking feeling, the realization that no matter how hard I work, my income won't ever seem to keep up with what it costs to live. The most frustrating part is that I have dreams. I've always had dreams. But those dreams feel so far out of reach, buried under the weight of bills, debt, and my everyday responsibilities. I used to talk about going back to school to pursue something I'm passionate about, but right now, I can barely pay for the courses I've already taken. I used to talk about traveling, about seeing new places, but I haven't been on a vacation in years. It feels like every step I try to take forward is met with 2 steps backward. And while everyone around me seems to be moving ahead, getting promotions, buying homes, going on trips, I feel stuck, like I'm caught in quicksand, just trying to stay afloat. I've started to notice that I'm withdrawing. I cancel plans with friends because I can't afford to go out. I don't engage in conversations about vacations or new experiences because it only reminds me of what I can't have. I put on a brave face at work, but the pressure is always there. Every email, every meeting, every task feels heavy, like I'm carrying a weight that no one else sees. To cope, I've developed a routine. It's not much, but it's something. I set small, achievable goals for the day, whether it's crossing one thing off my to-do list or managing to make a home-cooked meal with what I have left in the fridge. I've learned to celebrate those little wins, but even they feel hollow sometimes. I still fantasize about the life I could have, the life I thought I would have by now. I imagined that by 26, I'd have a better grip on things, that I'd be financially stable, maybe even be able to save for the future. But instead, I feel like I'm constantly treading water. I know I'm not alone in this. My friends share their struggles too, But it's hard not to feel envious when they seem to have more than I do. We talk about the economy, the rising costs, the challenges we all face, but I can't help but feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. No matter how much I cut back, how many sacrifices I make, it never seems like enough. I don't want to complain. I know there are people out there who have it worse. But it's hard not to feel hopeless when it seems like the system is built for people to fail. I keep telling myself that things will get better, that I just need to stick it out. But some days, it's hard to believe that. I'm exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally, and I don't know how much longer I can keep pushing through like this. I try to hold on to the small things. The friends who still reach out, the quiet moments when I can breathe, the satisfaction of making it through another week. But it's hard not to wonder how long I can keep going, how long I can pretend everything's fine when the truth is that it's all a little too much. I tell myself that someday, things will change. That eventually, I'll catch a break. But right now, all I can do is hope that I'll make it through today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. It's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't been there, but sometimes it feels like I'm stuck in a loop, a grind that's both exhausting and suffocating. Every morning, I wake up to the same cycle, the alarm rings, I groggily drag myself out of bed, and before I even have a chance to breathe, I'm thinking about money. More specifically, the lack of it. I'm 26, and I've been working full-time for almost 3 years now. I thought by this point I'd be in a better place, financially. That's what everyone says, right? It gets better. But here I am, juggling 2 jobs, cutting corners wherever I can, and still feeling like I'm drowning. I'm not asking for much, just the ability to pay my rent without panic, to buy groceries without having to check my bank balance every time I swipe my card, to put aside a little something for the future. But the truth is, I don't see a way out. The rent's gone up again this year. It seems like it's always going up. Last year, I had to borrow money from my parents just to cover it. This year, I promised myself I wouldn't ask for help. I wanted to prove I could do it on my own. But that promise is looking more and more like a joke. I'm doing everything I can just to scrape by. I cut back on everything, eating out, going out with friends, buying anything that isn't absolutely necessary. And yet, I'm still behind. I try to stay positive, but I can't ignore the constant weight on my shoulders. I've read all the articles, watched all the YouTube videos about budgeting and managing money. I've tried to be more frugal, but the cost of living is like this unrelenting wave that keeps pushing me further under. I keep thinking, if I just work harder, if I take on more hours, if I make a few more sacrifices, but it doesn't seem to make a difference. I still feel like I'm treading water, with no solid ground beneath me. It's draining in more ways than one. It's not just the physical exhaustion of working long hours, it's the mental and emotional weight. I've started to resent the way people talk about money. When friends post about their vacations or buying new clothes, I can't help but feel bitter. They don't understand how hard it is for me to even think about treating myself. The pressure is isolating. I'm supposed to be at the point where I'm building my life, right? Instead, I'm just trying to survive. And then there's the anxiety. The constant fear that something will break, my car will die, my phone will stop working, or I'll get a medical bill I can't pay. It's the kind of fear that gnaws at you in the middle of the night, when you're supposed to be sleeping but all you can think about is how to make it through the next month. I've started to get used to that low-grade panic, like a dull hum in the back of my mind. I've always been the kind of person who dreams big. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to make something of myself. But those dreams feel like they're slipping away with each passing day. There's no room for them in the life I'm living right now. The world is changing so fast, and it feels like everyone around me is moving forward, getting promotions, buying houses, starting families, and I'm stuck. I'm stuck in a place where I can't even afford to treat myself to a weekend getaway, let alone take a month off to travel. My hopes for the future feel like distant stars, always out of reach. I've had to let go of so many things. I used to think I'd have my own place by now. Maybe a cute apartment in the city, a small but cozy place to call my own. But now, that dream feels absurd. I can't even imagine being able to pay for that kind of life. I thought by 30, I'd have a savings account with something in it, maybe even a little retirement fund. Instead, I'm lucky if I can put aside $50 a month. I try not to think too much about the future, because it only makes the pressure worse. But sometimes, I can't help it. I imagine what it would feel like to not constantly worry about money, to wake up in the morning without that pit in my stomach. I dream of a life where I don't have to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. I dream of a day when I can actually enjoy a meal out without feeling guilty about spending money. But those dreams seem like fantasies, far removed from my reality. There's a part of me that feels like I've been sold a lie. We're all told that if we work hard enough, if we push through the tough times, things will get better. But what if they don't? What if, no matter how hard I work, I'm just stuck in a system that's designed to keep people like me struggling? I want to believe that things will get better. I want to believe that someday, I'll have the freedom to live the life I've always dreamed of. But it's hard to hold on to that hope when every day feels like a struggle to just keep my head above water. There are moments when I'm so overwhelmed by it all that I wonder if I'm just failing, if I'm doing something wrong. I'm told I should be more responsible, that I should budget better, that I should stop being wasteful. But I'm doing everything I can. I'm working hard, I'm cutting costs, I'm sacrificing. It's just never enough. And that's the hardest part, the feeling of being trapped. I'm trying to claw my way out, but it feels like I'm stuck in a system where the rules are rigged against me. The more I try to escape, the more entrenched I become. Some days, I just want to quit everything, drop out of the race, leave it all behind, and disappear for a while. But I know I can't. I have to keep going, because what else is there? I have responsibilities, bills, dreams I can't quite let go of, even if they feel impossible to reach. So, I keep going. I keep fighting, even though the fight feels endless. I try to take comfort in the small wins, the days when I make it through without a panic attack, when I manage to pay a bill on time, when I can afford a coffee without checking my account first. They're small victories, but they're all I have right now. I don't know where this path will take me. Maybe one day, things will change. Maybe I'll find a way to break free from this cycle. Or maybe this is just the reality I have to live with for now. But I keep going, because what else can I do? I just hope that somewhere down the line, I'll find a way to breathe again. I wake up to the sound of my alarm, the usual jarring tone that sets the rhythm for my day. I glance at the time, then at my phone, and for a moment, I just stare. It's 7 a.m., and already, a knot of dread is tightening in my stomach. I know what comes next. A slow, inevitable march through my morning routine, only to face the same questions that I don't have answers to. How much longer can I keep doing this? Is there any way out of this financial hellhole? I push the thoughts aside for a moment, drag myself out of bed, and shuffle to the bathroom. The mirror reflects a version of me I hardly recognize anymore. There's the usual dark circles under my eyes, but now they seem deeper. The face staring back at me looks tired, worn out. Even though I'm just 26, it feels like I've been carrying the weight of the world for years. I try not to think about it too much. The bills are always piling up. Last month, I had to skip one of my rent payments just to keep the lights on. And this month? It's looking like the same story. It's hard to focus on anything else when the pressure feels like a constant, looming cloud. The whole world seems to be moving faster, and I'm running to catch up, but every step feels like it's costing me more than I can afford. I'm working a full-time job, plus a part-time gig on the side. I've done the math, and it's not adding up. When I first started working after college, I had this dream of living comfortably, maybe even a little bit luxuriously. Maybe I'd take a vacation someday. Maybe I'd finally be able to eat at that nice restaurant downtown. It wasn't even anything extravagant, just the idea that I could relax without the constant worry that if I bought one more thing, I'd be spiraling into more debt. But now, that feels like a lifetime ago. I get up every day, and the first thing I think about is money. When I check my bank account, there's this sinking feeling. I check it more often than I'd like to admit, but it's always the same, too little. I'll make a payment here, a payment there, but it never seems like enough. The rent keeps going up, my student loan payments are practically eating me alive, and don't even get me started on the cost of gas and groceries. Everything is rising except my income. I don't know how people are supposed to survive like this. They say it's supposed to get easier as you get older, that once you get your career in gear, things will level out. But that's not how it feels. My friends talk about getting raises or promotions, but when I hear about it, all I can think is, how are you even making that work? It's not even that I don't want to improve. I do. I try to save when I can, even though it's hardly anything at all. I tell myself that one day, when I finally get ahead, I'll start putting money into a retirement account. But even thinking about the future stresses me out. It feels like I'm running on a treadmill that's just slightly too fast, and I can't keep up. Some days, I catch myself fantasizing about an escape. What if I just packed up and left? Went somewhere with a lower cost of living, started fresh in a town where everything isn't so overpriced? The thought brings a bit of relief, but I know it's just a daydream. I can't escape from a system that's designed to drain me. What's worse, though, is the toll it takes on my emotional well-being. I feel like a failure some days. My friends, they seem to have it together. They talk about their plans to travel, to buy homes, to take their careers to the next level. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to make sure I don't fall further behind. I've had to turn down social invites so many times now that I've lost count. I can't afford to go out for drinks or dinner, even though I'd love to. The guilt is always there, heavy in my chest when I say no. It's like I'm constantly apologizing for being broke. And when the inevitable questions come, from family, from coworkers, from people who care about me, I just shrug it off. I smile and say, things are fine, just taking it one day at a time. But the truth is, I'm barely holding on. I've postponed so many of my dreams. A few years ago, I was convinced I'd be traveling the world by now. I wanted to go to Europe, maybe explore Asia, maybe even do a long road trip across the US. The idea of just wandering without a care, experiencing new places, felt so possible back then. But now? I can't even think about a vacation without feeling nauseous. How could I take time off work when there's barely enough to pay for necessities? How could I justify spending money on a trip when my rent is more than half of what I make in a month? Instead, I focus on small, fleeting moments of joy. Like a hot cup of coffee on a chilly morning, the rare occasion when I can afford something nice for myself, like a book I've been wanting to read or a pair of shoes that won't fall apart after 6 months. But those moments always feel temporary, a quick fix that does nothing to erase the long-term pressure. I try to cope by distracting myself. I'll binge-watch shows on my days off, lose myself in a fictional world where people have it easier. Or, if I'm feeling particularly overwhelmed, I'll scroll through social media, where everyone seems to be living their best lives. It's hard not to compare. They all look so happy. It's easy to wonder if I'll ever get there. I have dreams. I still do. I just don't know when they'll come true. I want to own a house, even if it's just a small one with a backyard where I can grow vegetables and maybe even a garden. I want to have a savings account, one that doesn't make me feel like I'm just barely treading water. I want to stop being afraid that an unexpected expense will send me into a financial crisis. But right now, I'm just trying to survive. I'm trying to keep my head above water, keep pushing through the cycle, and hold on to the hope that someday, it will get better. Someday, the bills won't feel so overwhelming. Someday, I'll be able to take a break without feeling guilty. Someday, I'll finally breathe. For now, though, it's just one step at a time, trying to keep my heart from sinking every time I check my bank account, trying to get through another day without falling apart. Because at the end of the day, that's all I can do, keep moving forward, even when it feels like everything is moving faster than I can keep up. I wake up every morning with a knot in my stomach. It's like my brain knows before I even open my eyes that today's going to be another day of making choices that feel too heavy for someone who hasn't even hit 30 yet. Some days, I wonder how I ended up here, feeling like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing I can't afford to fall. My name's Liz, and I'm 27. I live in a small, overpriced apartment in a city that's slowly starting to feel too big for me. Every month, the rent seems to climb just a little higher, as if it's mocking me. The rent used to be a manageable expense when I first moved in. But now? It's like a hungry monster that eats up more than half my paycheck, and I'm left scrambling to make sure I don't fall behind. The bills pile up, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm running in place. I work full-time as a marketing assistant, a job I thought I'd love when I first started it, but now, it feels like a treadmill. I try not to think about how much I'm behind in savings. Or how I'll never be able to buy a house with these wages. Or how, at this rate, retirement might not even be a thing that's in my future. I tell myself that I'll save next month, but then next month comes, and it's always something else. There's a utility bill, a car repair, groceries, always something new, always something I didn't plan for. And that's before I even think about what's really eating away at my sense of security, inflation. Every time I go to the store, everything costs more. It feels like the price of gas has doubled, and the cost of eggs could send me into a panic attack. I used to just grab my phone and order takeout when I was too tired to cook, but now, I just can't. It's not a splurge anymore, it's a danger zone for my bank account. Even small luxuries, things that made me feel human, have started to feel like a fantasy. Dinner with friends, a weekend trip to the coast, these things are like daydreams I put on the shelf because, in the real world, they cost too much. I was never really a materialistic person, but now, it's hard not to feel envious when everyone around me seems to be doing better. I know it's not logical. I know I shouldn't compare my life to theirs. But when the people I went to college with post pictures of their new houses or the vacations they've taken, I can't help but feel like I missed some memo on how to adult successfully. Some days, I feel like I've been tricked. Like I bought into this idea of life where you go to school, get a degree, work hard, and then everything falls into place. But that's not how it's going. The pieces just don't fit. I work hard, yes, but I'm not getting ahead. I'm staying in place, barely able to keep up. My student loan payments are a joke. It's been years since I graduated, and my debt just feels like this shadow that looms over every decision I make. I've tried refinancing. I've tried consolidating. But the reality is that the minimum payments barely touch the principal, and the interest keeps growing. I've read all the self-help blogs, watched all the finance TikToks. I've downloaded budgeting apps and even tried tracking my expenses with that envelope method that's supposed to keep you accountable. But the truth is, no amount of budgeting is going to make the numbers work when everything around me is so expensive. And don't even get me started on healthcare, let's just say it's a miracle I haven't been to the doctor in over a year. Every time I think about what could happen if I get sick or hurt, I feel a surge of panic rise in my chest. It's a constant, low-level stress that builds up until I can barely breathe. But it's not all about the numbers. It's the way my mental health feels like it's tethered to these financial constraints. When I think about my future, it's not filled with excitement or hope, it's filled with dread. I used to dream of traveling, of getting a dog, of moving into a place I actually want to live. But now? It feels like all I can do is survive. And the emotional toll is real. I cry more now than I ever did before. It's not even the big things anymore, it's the small, quiet moments when I realize I can't keep up. I look at my friends, all of them doing their best to juggle their own struggles, and I wonder how everyone's carrying the weight. I wonder how anyone ever gets ahead in a system that keeps shifting the goalposts further and further away. And then there's the guilt. I'm ashamed of how little I have to show for the last few years of my life. I feel like I'm falling behind. I watch people my age taking big steps, getting promoted, buying their first home, starting families, and I just can't even imagine a life like that. I feel selfish when I admit that I wish I could take a break. But breaks are a luxury that I can't afford, both financially and emotionally. I've tried to comfort myself by telling myself that this is just a season, that things will get better. That the next promotion, the next raise, will turn everything around. But I don't know if I believe that anymore. The truth is, I don't know if I'll ever get out of this hole. I don't know if I'll ever feel stable again. There are days when I wonder if I'll ever be able to afford the things I once thought were normal, a nice meal, a road trip, a savings account that actually means something. There's this lingering feeling that everything is temporary, every purchase, every paycheck, every choice I make. I've had to let go of so many dreams to keep my head above water. Sometimes, I think about those things I once wanted and I wonder if they'll always just be out of reach. But then I wake up the next day and I do it all over again. I push through. I count the days until payday. I buy the cheapest groceries. I find ways to make things work, even when it feels like I'm barely making it. Because that's all I can do. And maybe that's the hardest part, accepting that survival is all I can manage, and that enough might not be in the cards right now. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know when or how things will change. But what I do know is that right now, I'm doing the best I can. And even if it's not enough, even if I'm stuck in this cycle, I can still hold on to that. Because, for now, holding on is enough. I wake up, and the first thing I do is check my bank account. It's an automatic habit now, something I've been doing for the past few years. The number doesn't surprise me. It's always the same, barely enough to get through the week. But that's the reality I'm stuck in. Every day feels like I'm balancing on a tightrope, trying not to fall into the abyss of debt and desperation. The truth is, I'm exhausted. I'm 26, working as a marketing assistant, and the weight of my finances feels heavier with every passing month. I get up, shuffle into the kitchen, and make coffee. The kind that's more affordable than it is good, but at least it keeps me awake. There's a sense of guilt that comes with every purchase I make now, even the small ones. My paycheck barely covers my rent, bills, and student loans, and what's left doesn't go very far. I try to make a budget, I really do. But every month, something unexpected pops up. The car needs new tires, or the gas bill is higher than usual, or, this is the worst, my old laptop finally dies, and I'm left scrambling to find something cheap enough to replace it. Every unplanned expense feels like a punch in the gut, reminding me that no matter how hard I try to stay afloat, I'm always sinking a little deeper. At work, I put on a smile. I try to do my job well, hoping it might lead to something more, something better. But honestly, I don't know if it's worth it anymore. I've been with the company for 3 years, and while I'm told I'm doing a good job, my salary has hardly budged. I've seen others promoted, others who have more than me. And every time I hear about someone getting a raise or a bonus, it hits me harder than I care to admit. I know that feeling. That deep ache of knowing you're working just as hard, if not harder, but it's never enough. I tell myself I shouldn't complain. That others are struggling just as much, if not more. The news is full of stories about inflation and rising costs. The world feels like it's moving at a pace I can't keep up with. I scroll through my phone, and the prices of everything, from groceries to rent, seem to be climbing faster than my paycheck. I feel like I'm stuck in a loop, running in place, with the finish line just out of reach. But it's not just the money. It's the emotional toll, the weight of it all. I'm angry sometimes. Angry that it feels like the system is rigged against people like me, people who try, who work hard, but can never seem to get ahead. I want to dream, to plan for the future, but I can't. Every time I start thinking about the things I want, maybe buying a house, traveling, going back to school, my mind snaps back to the reality of my current situation. It's too far out of reach. Those things are for other people, not for someone like me. It's hard to explain how it feels, how it gets under your skin, day after day. The stress doesn't just live in my bank account. It lives in my body, in my mind. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach when I think about the future, in the tension in my shoulders as I try to get through another day. Some nights, I lie in bed wide awake, my mind racing through all the things I need to do and can't afford. I think about the dreams I had when I was younger, the plans I made, the person I thought I'd be by now. But that person feels so far away. How do I even start to make a change when the system feels like it's stacked against me? I know I'm not alone in this. I see it in the eyes of my friends, my family. We all share the same anxiety, the same sense of helplessness. Everyone's tightening their belts, cutting corners. I try to lean on them when I'm feeling down, but it's hard to talk about money with people who are struggling just as much. I don't want to burden them. So, I keep it inside, keeping up appearances, pretending that everything's okay. But inside, it feels like I'm suffocating. I cope the best I can. Some days, it's by making small changes to my routine, drinking my coffee at home instead of going out, skipping the lunch orders at work. Other days, it's by taking a breath and reminding myself that I'm doing the best I can. I remind myself that I'm working hard and that this isn't permanent. But the truth is, it feels permanent. Every day is the same struggle, and every time I think I've made some progress, something else comes up. Sometimes, I wonder what would happen if I just gave up. If I just let myself sink and stop trying to keep everything afloat. But then I think about the people I care about, my family, my friends, and I remind myself that I can't give up. I can't let myself go under, no matter how hard it is. I know there's a part of me that holds out hope. A small part that believes things can get better, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. But that hope is fragile, and some days, it feels like it's slipping away. The hardest thing is the waiting. The waiting for things to improve, for the world to catch up with me, for something to give. But nothing ever seems to. I just keep pushing through, one day at a time, hoping that eventually, the weight will lighten, and I'll be able to see the dreams I've put on hold finally come to life. Until then, I just keep breathing, keep surviving, and keep telling myself that someday, it has to get better. I wake up before the sun, like I always do. The alarm blares, and for a few seconds, I stay in bed, my eyes half open, staring at the ceiling. It feels like every day is the same, an endless loop of trying to make it through another 24 hours without drowning. I've started to dread mornings, not because I don't want to face the day, but because I know that the second my feet hit the floor, I'm stepping into a world that feels too heavy to carry. I roll out of bed and glance at my phone. Emails. Texts. Nothing good. Bills. More bills. The reminder that I haven't paid that credit card yet, again. It stings every time, that feeling of falling behind. I feel like I'm running, but no matter how fast I go, the finish line just keeps moving farther away. My bank account is always on my mind. I've gotten used to checking it out of reflex. Every time I look, I feel the knot in my stomach tighten. I think about food for the day, gas for the car, the utilities that need to be paid. I have to make sure I can get through the week without dipping too much into savings. Except, there's no savings anymore. The rainy day fund I used to imagine? It evaporated the second I had to dip into it for an emergency last month. I've been at this entry-level job for almost a year now, and it's not as bad as I feared, but it's not getting any better, either. My paycheck barely covers the basics, rent, utilities, student loan payments, groceries, and even that feels like it's slipping through my fingers. Sometimes, I wonder how much of my life I'm really living versus just existing. I've been able to take a breath here and there, but I'm not doing anything I really enjoy. I've put off so many things. Travel. Concerts. Hell, even a simple dinner out with friends feels like a luxury I can't afford. I used to dream about spontaneous weekend trips, exploring new cities, or just doing something fun for myself, but now it feels like a joke. Those things aren't for people like me. Not right now. I can't help but think about the people I see on social media, those who seem to have it all together. People my age, going on vacation, buying things that I can't even imagine affording. It's hard not to compare myself, but I know it's not healthy. Every time I catch myself thinking that way, I remind myself that not everything online is real. But still, I wonder, what did they do differently? How did they get to this place where they can enjoy life without this constant, gnawing anxiety in the back of their minds? Every day feels like a tightrope walk. I try not to stress about it too much when I'm at work. I put on a smile, I do my job, and I get out as fast as I can. But the pressure is always there, a quiet hum in the background. Some days, it's louder than others. Like when I get the email from my landlord about rent going up again. That's the part that feels impossible to deal with. Expenses keep growing faster than my income. How is it that every month, the world around me seems to be getting more expensive, but my paycheck stays the same? I wish I could say I'm doing something to fix it. But I'm not. I'm stuck. I applied for a few other jobs, but I haven't heard anything back. I know everyone is struggling right now. I know I'm not the only one feeling this pressure, but it doesn't help. I still wake up every day, trying to piece together a life where I'm not constantly behind. Where I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, scraping by, hoping that the next pay period will somehow feel different. But, honestly, I'm scared. I'm scared that it won't get better. That this is just the way it's going to be. I know that's not a healthy way of thinking, but when everything is going up, and you're stuck at the same starting point, you start to lose faith that things will change. You get tired of waiting for the next thing to come along that will save you. You start to feel like you're just waiting for a break that might never come. I have dreams. I used to have so many of them, big ones. I wanted to move to a different city, start a new life, meet new people, and build a career that meant something to me. I wanted to travel, experience the world, and grow as a person. I wanted to find a place for myself in the world that felt fulfilling, like I wasn't just working to survive, but actually living. But the older I get, the more those dreams feel out of reach. It's hard to keep believing that one day, it'll all click into place when you can barely pay for lunch. There are days when I feel like I'm suffocating. When I can't breathe because I'm too focused on every small expense and whether I can afford it. A cup of coffee from my favorite cafe feels like a splurge, even though it's a small thing. It's not that I don't want to enjoy life, it's just that every decision feels weighted. Even buying something small feels like I'm breaking a rule. I feel like I can't indulge in anything, even things that I know would make me happy. A night out, a new outfit, a book I want to read, it all gets pushed aside because I'm just trying to stay afloat. I've learned to cope with the stress. Mostly, I do it by zoning out. I binge-watch TV shows when I can, where I lose myself in books. Those are the things that feel like an escape, a moment of peace, even if it's temporary. But the truth is, the weight of the world is always just beneath the surface, and no amount of distraction changes that. I can tell myself it's going to get better, but sometimes I don't believe it. At night, I lie awake, my mind racing with numbers, how much I owe, how much I need, and how far behind I am. I think about what I'd do if I had a few extra $100. I could pay off some of the debt, maybe buy myself a little something nice. Or, hell, maybe just have a day where I don't have to worry about the next bill. Just one day. But I know that's not coming soon. And then I remember something my mom told me once, take it one day at a time. It's all you can do. She said it like it was an easy thing to remember, but it's hard when you feel like you're drowning. But, even though it's hard, I keep trying. Every day, I remind myself that this is just a chapter. That I'm not stuck here forever. One day, things will change. Maybe not tomorrow, but one day. I keep telling myself that my dreams haven't disappeared, they've just been put on pause. That I'm allowed to take small steps toward them, even if it feels like I'm moving at a crawl. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. Maybe that's all any of us can really do, keep going, one day at a time. I wake up at 6:30 every morning, groggy, with my mind already buzzing with worries. The usual ones: bills, rent, grocery costs, gas, insurance. How can it be that everything costs more than it did last month? How are we supposed to keep up when wages are stagnant but the price tags keep getting bigger? I don't know how long I can keep going like this. I'm 24. I should be full of potential, right? But every time I try to picture my future, it feels like I'm staring at a foggy wall. I don't know how to break through. All I see are bills, debt, and a ticking clock reminding me that time is slipping by while I'm stuck. I get out of bed, ignoring the alarm that buzzes a few more times before I shut it off. I grab my phone to check my bank account, hoping somehow there's been a mistake and I've got more than I expected. But no, it's exactly as I thought. I've got a little over $50 in my checking account, and my credit card is maxed out. Again. There's a pit in my stomach, but I push it down. I can't afford to think about it right now. I've got to get to work. The commute is always the same. I leave my tiny apartment and step into a world that seems too big for me, full of people hustling, all trying to make ends meet. The cars are bumper to bumper, and even the air feels heavy, thick with the stress of too many people trying to grab a piece of the same thing. I hate this feeling. The way the world feels like a race I didn't sign up for. I'm not even sure what I'm running toward. I get to the office, and as soon as I step inside, I can feel the weight of everything. The fluorescent lights buzz above me, and the hum of computers fills the silence. I sit down at my desk, fire up my computer, and start checking my emails. The usual requests from bosses, the spreadsheets, the projects that never seem to end. It's not a bad job. It's stable. But it's also not enough. It barely covers rent and student loans. I'm just scraping by. I've had to cut back on so many things that it almost feels like I've lost the person I used to be. I used to love going out with friends, getting a coffee at that cute cafe on the corner, treating myself to a nice dinner now and then. But now, everything feels like a luxury I can't afford. I can't even think about the future. I used to dream about owning a house, traveling, maybe even starting a family. But every time I picture it, it's like I hit a wall. Those dreams feel so far away. In fact, they feel like they belong to someone else, someone who has more than I do. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I know there are people who have it worse than me. But it doesn't make the weight any lighter. Lunchtime comes around, and I grab a sandwich from the vending machine, cheapest option. The other people in the office are talking about vacations, new cars, and plans for the weekend. I nod and smile, but inside, I feel like I'm drowning. How do they afford all these things? Where's their secret? Some days, it's just easier to stay in my shell, to not think too hard about the way the world works. I know I shouldn't compare myself to others, but I can't help it. I see people living lives I can't even begin to imagine. I wonder how they got there. After work, I head straight to the grocery store. I pull out my calculator and start adding up the prices in my head as I toss things into my basket. I pick the cheaper brand of everything, no organic, no fancy labels. I don't even buy the things I actually want. I can't afford it. I see the total at the self-checkout, and my stomach drops. The worst part is, I know I'll have to put something back. I stare at the screen for a few seconds before I grab the bag of frozen veggies and put it aside. It's not what I wanted, but I can't be wasteful. As I load everything into my car, I can't help but think about the future again. My friends talk about moving to new cities, finding better opportunities, but I just feel stuck. The idea of picking up and leaving seems impossible when every dollar feels accounted for. How do you build a life when your current one feels like a constant struggle to just stay afloat? I get home, make a quick dinner, and sit in front of the TV. The silence in my apartment is suffocating. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. I'm not a failure. But it's hard to feel like you're doing enough when everything around you is telling you that you're falling behind. Some nights, I lie awake, scrolling through social media, looking at other people's vacations, their perfect outfits, their beautiful homes. I hate the way it makes me feel, but I can't help it. There's a part of me that wants to know how they got there. I want to believe that it's possible for me too, but the harder I try to picture it, the more distant it seems. I used to have dreams, big ones. But now, it feels like I've had to shrink them, squeeze them into something more manageable. I still want those things: security, happiness, freedom. But when I look at my bank account, it's hard to imagine how I'll ever get there. I think about what it would feel like to just not worry about money for once. To be able to take a vacation, to buy something nice without worrying about whether I'll be able to pay rent next month. It feels like a distant dream, one that I can't touch. Sometimes, I wonder if this is what life is supposed to be. If it's just a constant balancing act, always trying to stay one step ahead. But what happens when you can't even keep up anymore? The next day, I wake up again, the same thoughts racing through my mind. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. I try to keep my head up. I try to keep moving forward. But the weight of it all is wearing me down. I don't know how to get out of this cycle, how to feel like I'm actually building something for myself. All I know is that I'm trying my best. And sometimes, that's all you can do. But damn, I just wish the world would slow down for a second. Just long enough for me to catch my breath. It's hard to get through a day without feeling it, the weight of the numbers, the pressure that quietly drips from one part of my life to the next. Every dollar spent feels like a drop in an ocean that never seems to fill, like the more I try to float, the deeper I sink. I don't think anyone truly prepares you for this part of adulthood, the part where the world just feels heavy. I guess I thought it would get easier as I got older, but it doesn't. It's just different kinds of difficult. The first thing I do when I wake up is check my phone. It's not for the usual notifications or texts, those are just noise. No, it's the bank app. The numbers on the screen are always the same, no matter how much I wish they would change. Always just enough to get by, but never enough to really feel safe. I scroll through my transaction history, tallying up the damage, my fingers moving faster than I can think. A coffee here, groceries there, a little gas, a late-night Uber ride because I was too tired to take the bus home. It's always small stuff, right? Little moments I thought wouldn't add up. But they do, and every single one of those small things takes a chunk from my peace of mind. I can't seem to catch a break. By the time I leave my apartment, if you can even call it that, it's more of a glorified closet with a bed. I'm already stressed. The rent is due in 2 weeks, and I still haven't figured out how to pay it. I'm lucky that I have roommates, but sometimes I feel guilty for sharing the burden with them. I know they're struggling, too. I try to hide it, but we all know. We talk about it late at night, just the sound of voices in the dark, our shared worries hanging in the air like smoke. Work isn't any better. The hustle that everyone romanticizes feels more like a trap than anything else. I work 2 jobs, one full-time and one part-time, just to make sure I can cover the basics. But the more I work, the more I realize how little progress I'm actually making. There's always something I forgot to pay for or something that needs fixing. Last week, my phone broke, and I had to use my rent money to buy a cheap replacement. Every day, it's something new. And the prices? The prices just keep going up. I don't know if it's inflation, or if the world just wants to make me feel like I'm drowning, but it's relentless. Sometimes, when I'm sitting at my desk, typing away, I feel like I'm not even living my own life anymore. The days blur together: work, eat, sleep, repeat. And no matter how much I push, I can't escape the constant tension in the back of my mind. It's like there's a wall around me, and all I can do is run into it over and over again. I've learned to manage the stress, I guess. I've learned to shove it down, compartmentalize it, distract myself with small pleasures, maybe a takeout meal I don't really need, a new app to waste time on, or scrolling through social media to see if anyone else is feeling just as trapped as I am. Everyone else seems so happy, so successful. They have it all together. But me? I'm just trying to hold on. I've started to avoid thinking about the future. It feels like a place I'm never going to reach. I used to have dreams, real ones. I thought I would move to a different city, start a career I was passionate about, maybe even get my own apartment, a real one this time, where I could decorate and feel like I belonged. But those dreams seem so far away now. I feel guilty for even thinking about them. Dreams feel like luxuries I can't afford, so I push them aside, tell myself I'll get back to them when I can. But every day it feels harder to imagine a future where things get better. When I'm exhausted at the end of the day, it feels like just surviving is the goal, and anything beyond that is a dream too far out of reach. Sometimes, at night, I lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, wondering how long this will last. Will things always feel like this? Will I always be living paycheck to paycheck? Will I ever catch up? I try to remember what it felt like to dream, to imagine a world where money didn't control everything, but it's hard. It feels like the more I work, the further behind I fall. There are weeks when I feel like I'm getting ahead, like I might be able to save a little, maybe even treat myself to something nice, but then the next thing I know, another unexpected expense hits, and all of that progress vanishes in an instant. I've tried budgeting. I've tried planning. I've tried everything. And yet, every month, I'm still scrambling. It's hard not to get frustrated when I see people who have it all figured out, who talk about how they've got financial freedom and generational wealth. It's hard not to feel bitter when I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make ends meet. I try not to compare myself to others, but it's impossible. It's everywhere, the idea that we're all supposed to be successful by a certain age, to have a career and savings and stability. And here I am, just hoping I can make it through the month. The worst part is that this doesn't just affect me financially. It eats away at my emotional well-being too. I used to be a pretty optimistic person, but now it feels like every day is a reminder of how little I'm achieving. I'm constantly tired, mentally and physically drained. I've started pulling away from friends because I don't want to admit to them how much I'm struggling. I don't want to be the one who's always talking about money, who's always canceling plans because I can't afford to go out. I want to be carefree like they are. I want to feel like I can be a part of the world without constantly worrying about the next bill or how I'm going to pay for my bus fare next week. But no matter how much I push it down, it's always there. The tension, the anxiety. Every day, I carry it with me, trying to navigate through life while the weight of financial pressure follows me everywhere. I try to tell myself that it's temporary, that one day things will get better. But that hope feels like a fragile thread, something that could snap at any moment. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe it'll get better, maybe it won't. Maybe I'll keep working like this, scraping by, trying to build something for myself, one day at a time. Maybe, one day, I'll finally get to a place where I can breathe again, where I don't feel like I'm always behind. But for now, all I can do is keep going. One foot in front of the other. Trying to survive in a world that feels determined to make me feel small. Trying to keep hope alive, even when it feels like there's nothing to hold on to. I'm still here, though. Still trying. And maybe that's enough for now. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. It's 6:30 a.m. when my alarm goes off, the same time every day. I didn't need to set an alarm, though, my body wakes up at this time now. The same ache in my chest hits me immediately, a familiar feeling I can't shake. I know it's not a physical ache, it's the weight of the world settling on my shoulders before my feet even hit the floor. Money. Debt. Bills. I'm 25, and the reality of how quickly life has become a treadmill I can't get off of is sinking in deeper with each passing day. I lie there for a few more minutes, trying to breathe. There's a moment, every morning, where I imagine the possibility of a life without this pressure, without the constant juggling of bills, without watching the numbers in my bank account flicker and drop lower every time I buy something essential. Just last night, I debated whether to get dinner at home or treat myself to something, anything. My fridge is mostly empty, but after the electricity bill came through last week, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep the lights on. So, I tell myself, this is fine. I can wait. I'll get through today. I drag myself out of bed and put on clothes that are old but functional. I can't afford new ones. My rent is due in a week, and I'm already calculating how I'll make it work. I've been doing that for months now, constantly calculating. The trick is to keep it all under control so that when a small emergency happens, like a parking ticket or my car breaking down, there's still a way to keep everything balanced. I step into the kitchen, and the emptiness hits me again. I know I have to be careful about my spending. I make a cup of coffee because it's cheaper than buying one, but even the coffee feels like a small indulgence. And as I sip it, I think about how many things I've had to postpone, how many dreams I've buried under this crushing weight of financial anxiety. I graduated 2 years ago, optimistic and excited. I had plans. I had dreams. I thought that maybe, just maybe, this degree I worked so hard for would mean something. I thought I'd get a job in the field I studied, maybe move to a different city, start building a life I could be proud of. But the job market isn't what it used to be, and even with a degree, the reality has been different. I work in retail management now, making barely enough to cover my basic expenses. It's not what I imagined for myself, but I take pride in it. I give my best every day. And yet, it's not enough. I can't help but feel trapped in a system that keeps asking more and more of me while giving less in return. Everything costs more, and my paycheck barely rises. Gas is more expensive, food prices are skyrocketing, and rent seems to increase faster than my income. I keep thinking I'll catch a break, but every time I get close, there's another bill, another payment, another thing I can't afford. The hardest part is watching others move forward. Some of my friends have careers, or they're traveling the world, or buying homes. I watch it all from the sidelines, pretending it doesn't sting. But it does. It's hard to admit that my dreams feel so far away, as if the system is rigged to keep me stuck in place. I wanted to travel, to experience life outside of this small town. I wanted to go back to school and get a degree in something I was truly passionate about. But how do you do that when every dollar is accounted for? I feel like I'm constantly running just to stay still. I take on extra shifts when I can, picking up whatever I can find. I try to save a little each paycheck, but it's never enough. The rainy day fund I've been trying to build for years is practically non-existent. One unexpected expense, and it's gone. The cycle is exhausting. It's always one step forward, 2 steps back. When I'm at work, I focus on the tasks at hand. I bury myself in the day-to-day and try not to think about everything I'm missing out on. I tell myself that at least I'm stable, that I have a job, that it could be worse. But those thoughts never last long. They always fade when I'm alone, when I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. And then I let the thoughts consume me. What am I doing with my life? How did I get here? What's the point of trying to save when I'm stuck in a cycle of barely surviving? There are nights when I just don't know how to cope anymore. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning, and I can't find a way to come up for air. I think about the future, about what I want, and I feel a deep, aching sadness because it feels so out of reach. I can't make plans. I can't dream big anymore. Everything is on hold, trips, career changes, buying a car that doesn't break down every 2 weeks. All I can do is get through the day, get through the next paycheck, and hope something changes. I wonder if it will ever change. And yet, even though I feel stuck, even though I'm struggling to keep up, I know I can't give up. I can't stop trying. I can't let myself sink because I know that if I give up now, I'll lose everything I've worked for. I've worked too hard to let it all slip away. I remind myself that this is temporary, even though it doesn't feel like it. Every day, I make a conscious decision to keep going. I cope by staying busy, by focusing on the little things I can control. I take comfort in small victories, finding a coupon that helps me save a few bucks, or having a good conversation with a friend. I keep going because, deep down, I know I have to. I have dreams. They're just postponed for now. I hope that one day, I'll look back and see how far I've come, that all this struggle will have led to something bigger. But for now, I'm just trying to make it through. I hold on to the hope that somehow, some way, things will get better. I wake up to the soft chime of my phone alarm. It's 6:30 a.m., and the sun is barely starting to stretch its rays over the apartment buildings outside my window. I roll over, feeling that familiar weight in my chest, heavy, like a rock lodged somewhere between my ribs. The kind of weight that settles there every time I open my eyes, reminding me of what I need to face today. Another day in the grind. Another day of trying to make ends meet. I drag myself out of bed, avoiding the mirror, as I always do. I've seen my reflection enough times to know that the tiredness in my eyes has settled into permanent lines now. I can't tell if that's from too many late nights studying or just worrying about how I'm going to pay rent this month. Maybe it's both. I shuffle to the kitchen, open the fridge, and stare at the empty shelves. There's a carton of eggs, but I'll need to save those for dinner. The only other thing I have is a half-empty loaf of bread, and I can't even remember when I bought it. I throw a slice in the toaster, half-heartedly preparing breakfast, knowing it'll barely fill me up. The toaster clicks, and I take a bite. It's dry, bland. It's fine. It's enough. I check my bank account before leaving for work. The number stares back at me like a cruel joke, flashing in bright red on the screen. My rent is due in 5 days, and it's way more than I have in my account. There's no way I can make it work. I can't even afford to buy groceries this week, and I'm pretty sure my car is running on fumes. I try to push the anxiety down, ignoring the tightness creeping into my chest, but it's hard. It's always hard. My job doesn't pay much. It's an entry-level gig, but that's what everyone tells you, just get your foot in the door, work your way up. But what happens when the door is too small, and the gap is filled with the weight of every bill I'm behind on, every late fee stacking up, every "sorry, we're unable to approve your application at this time" email I get when I try to apply for a better job? I'm stuck. I get to work late again, just barely managing to avoid being marked tardy. I've learned the fine art of holding my breath when the boss passes my desk, hoping they won't notice the way my hand shakes as I open my laptop. They never say anything about it, but I know they can see it. Everyone can. The stress is written all over me. I can't hide it. The day drags on, and the clock seems to stretch farther than it should. The office is full of quiet chatter, people typing away at their computers, pretending everything's fine. I can't help but notice how everyone else seems to have their life together. There's Jennifer in the corner with her Starbucks cup, wearing a brand new blazer. Her phone rings, and she picks it up, answering in a voice that sounds like it's part of a different world, one where she doesn't have to choose between paying rent and eating. I wonder if anyone knows what it feels like to never have enough. To always be treading water, but never quite able to breathe. By lunch, I can't focus anymore. My stomach growls, but I don't have the energy to care. I just sit there, scrolling through job boards, clicking on every listing that looks remotely promising. But nothing is. The job market is tight, and everyone wants experience I don't have, no matter how much I try to gain. I've learned how to craft the perfect resume, but I've forgotten how to believe in the lies I tell myself on paper. There's no magic formula to make things better. I know the bills are stacking up. I can feel the pressure of them like an invisible hand, squeezing harder with each passing week. The rent, the utilities, the student loans, the credit card bills, every one of them a weight I can't shake off. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning in numbers I can't make sense of, drowning in debt I don't know how to escape. It's not even about living beyond my means. It's about the fact that no matter how hard I try, the world keeps raising the bar while I'm stuck running in place. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of working 2 jobs. I'm tired of the constant feeling that I'll never have enough. I'm tired of saying no to plans with friends because I can't afford to go out, or of staying home because I don't want to face another night of nothing but silence and worry. I tell myself to hang on. I tell myself things will get better, that I just need to be patient, that one day, I'll have a better job, a better salary, a better life. But each day feels like the mountain is getting higher, and my legs are getting weaker. Every time I feel like I've made a small dent in the problem, something new comes up. A medical bill from an old injury I never got around to paying. The car broke down, and now I need a new alternator. My shoes are worn down to the soles, but I can't afford to replace them, so I just hope they hold up for a little longer. At night, when I'm alone in my apartment, I pull out my phone and scroll through the feed of people living lives I can't afford. Friends on vacation. Family members buying houses. People with new clothes, new cars, new opportunities. I don't feel jealous, not really, but there's a sharp ache in my chest every time I see it. I wonder what it would feel like to not have to worry about every little thing. What would it be like to not have to track every penny, to not have to turn off the lights at night in a small, cold apartment and wonder if I'll ever be able to make it? I want more. I want to dream again. But it feels impossible when the world keeps moving forward while I'm stuck here, trying to make sense of a broken system that doesn't care if I fall through the cracks. I had dreams once, big ones. I wanted to travel. I wanted to write. I wanted to create something that meant something to someone. But I've had to set all of that aside. The dream of traveling the world seems so far out of reach now, a distant memory that gets buried a little deeper every time I have to make another sacrifice. The dream of writing is still alive, but it's suffocating beneath the weight of my reality. How can I focus on stories when I'm trying to figure out how to keep the lights on? I try to hold on to those old dreams, though. They're all I have left. I try to write when I can, even if it's just in my journal at night before I fall asleep. I try to imagine a future where I can breathe a little easier, where I don't have to worry about money controlling every aspect of my life. But sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever get there. Or if this is just it, the constant grind, the constant struggle, the constant fear of not being enough. For now, I wake up every morning, face the day, and keep moving forward. Because that's all I can do. Keep moving. Keep trying. Even when it feels like everything is against me. Even when it feels like I'm walking through life with no way out. Maybe one day, I'll reach the other side. Maybe one day, I'll finally breathe easy. Until then, I just keep going. I wake up every morning to the sound of my phone vibrating on the nightstand. It's 6:30 a.m., a full 30 minutes before my alarm goes off, and I'm already dreading the day. My eyes flick to the screen, email, text messages, social media alerts, and I groan. I don't even bother checking my bank account anymore. The balance is always the same, dangerously close to zero. I get up, pull on my work clothes, and try not to think about how much I don't want to go. It's not that I hate my job, well, I mean, it's not my dream job, but it pays the bills. Barely. I'm grateful for it, at least. I have that tiny sliver of comfort, knowing I'm not unemployed like so many others around me. But there's always this gnawing feeling, a constant anxiety that only grows with every passing day, every time I see gas prices go up or hear about the latest rent hikes in the city. The job itself isn't terrible. It's just, not enough. I'm 27 and I'm still stuck in this cycle where, no matter how much I work, I can't seem to make enough to keep up with the cost of living. I've never been someone to throw pity parties for myself, but it's hard not to feel like I'm treading water in a sea that's rising faster than I can swim. By the time I get to work, the first thing I do is check my email. Another round of updates about health insurance premiums increasing. Great. I try not to think about it, but it's like a weight settling on my chest. Every month, I watch as more of my paycheck goes toward bills, rent, utilities, student loans, insurance, groceries. I've cut out most of the little luxuries, but it's still not enough. The hardest part is that I've had to put so many things on hold, things that are important to me, things that I've dreamed about. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to start traveling. I wanted to buy a car that didn't have to be coaxed into starting each morning. But every time I think about spending a little money on myself, it's like a little voice in the back of my head whispers, * you can't afford it. Not now, not yet *. So I put it off, month after month, year after year. And every time, it feels like another little piece of me gets pushed down, buried under the weight of practicality. After work, I walk through the city, my mind swirling with thoughts of what I need to do next. I'm always calculating in my head, how far can I stretch this paycheck? How many days until I have to pay rent? Can I afford to get coffee today, or is that just a waste of money? It's exhausting. Sometimes, I just want to go somewhere far away, to escape the constant pressure of survival, but then I remember, I'm not allowed to want that. I have bills, responsibilities. I have to keep going, keep working, keep making the right choices, even if it feels like I'm losing everything in the process. I know I'm not alone. Every time I scroll through social media, it's hard to ignore the posts that make it seem like everyone else has their life together. They're out on vacations, buying new clothes, upgrading their apartments. Meanwhile, I'm scraping together the last of my savings just to make it to the next paycheck. It's not that I resent them for having things I don't, but it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind. Like I'm stuck in a system that rewards those who already have resources and punishes those of us who are just trying to keep up. Some days, I feel angry. Other days, I feel numb. I try to be optimistic, to look ahead and tell myself that things will get better. But it's hard to believe in a better future when every decision I make feels like a choice between two bad options. Do I take on more debt to pay for an emergency? Or do I ignore the problem and hope it resolves itself? Do I keep working harder, pushing myself to the brink of burnout, hoping that someday my effort will be rewarded? Or do I start thinking about what I can sacrifice today to survive tomorrow? And then there's the guilt. The constant, lingering guilt. I should be doing more. I should be saving more. I should be better at budgeting, better at planning. I should be more disciplined. But when the cost of living is rising faster than my wages, it feels like the goalposts are always moving. Every time I think I'm doing better, something new comes along to push me back. It could be a flat tire, an unexpected medical bill, or a spike in grocery prices. Suddenly, I'm scrambling again, trying to figure out how to juggle everything and still have a little left for myself. There are days when I just want to scream. I feel like I'm drowning in this constant cycle of work and worry. I watch people around me get promotions, buy houses, take vacations, and I feel so small in comparison. I've always been someone who believes in hard work, but it's hard not to wonder if hard work is even enough anymore. The world seems to be built for people who can already afford the luxury of breathing room. And yet, somehow, I keep going. I don't know why. Maybe because I still have a tiny flicker of hope that one day, things will get better. Maybe because I've learned to live in the spaces between struggle and survival, to take moments of peace where I can find them. Maybe because, despite everything, I can't give up just yet. I still have dreams, even if they seem far out of reach. I want to go back to school, to finish what I started and get a degree that means something more than a job title. I want to take a trip to Europe, to see the places I've only read about in books and watched in documentaries. I want to build something for myself, something that isn't tied to just getting by, something that feels like freedom. But right now, those dreams feel like whispers, faint and distant. I'm living in the now, and the now is a constant grind, a series of decisions that all lead back to survival. I cope by finding small joys where I can, an afternoon with friends, a walk in the park, a quiet moment with a good book. I tell myself that these things matter, that they are enough for today. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can't help but wonder if they'll ever be enough for tomorrow. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see all of this as a chapter in a bigger story, one where the sacrifices eventually pay off, where the struggle becomes a lesson. But for now, it feels like I'm stuck, caught in the weight of a system that keeps pushing and pushing until I feel like I'm about to break. I just hope that someday, somehow, I'll find a way to step out of this pressure, to break free from the constant financial squeeze, and finally live a life that feels like my own. I wake up early, not because I have anything I need to do, but because my body is used to the stress. The pressure is a constant hum, buzzing in the background, always there, even in my sleep. As I roll out of bed, the first thought I have is money. Always money. It's the first thing on my mind when I check my phone, bleary-eyed, scrolling through my bank balance. I can almost feel my chest tighten every time I do it, like a wave of heat and panic rises up, swallowing me whole. Today's not any different. Same old balance, same old struggle. Just enough to get by, just enough to breathe. But it's the just that gets to me. I'm 24, and I feel like I'm living in a trap. I see friends around me posting about their vacations, their new apartments, their celebrations. It's like everyone's moving forward, but I'm stuck. I'm still fighting for the basics. Rent. Utilities. Food. Gas. And yet, the bills never stop coming. They rise, too, steadily, always just a little higher than I expect. It's not that I'm spending wildly. I'm not going out for dinners or buying new clothes. I'm just trying to survive. But it feels like every time I catch a glimpse of financial freedom, it slips through my fingers like sand. The cost of living in this city, where I feel like I have to be, keeps climbing. The rent, the groceries, even the smallest things. Gas prices are through the roof, and every time I fill up, I think about how much I could have saved if it were just a little cheaper. Every day is like this, looking at what I have, what I can afford, and wondering how long I can stretch it all before something gives. Some days, I wake up feeling like I'm drowning. I have a job, I work hard, but it's never enough. I'm just one step ahead of falling behind. It doesn't matter that I'm doing everything right, cutting back, sticking to a budget, avoiding impulse buys, because the system isn't built for people like me. It's built for those with a safety net, for those who can take a few risks and fail, for those with a head start. For those who aren't one medical emergency or car breakdown away from disaster. The weight of it hangs around me. I used to dream about owning a house. I used to picture myself with a career that would let me travel, buy the things I've always wanted. But now? Now, I just want a decent apartment where the heat actually works and the landlord doesn't raise the rent every year. Most days, I cope by ignoring it. I don't talk about it to anyone. I put on a smile even when I'm not feeling it. My friends have no idea how close I am to being broke, how much I hold my breath every time I go to swipe my card. I pretend everything's fine. I tell myself I just have to make it through today, just get to the end of the month. That's all. But the months blur together, and there's no end in sight. I've had to put my dreams on hold, so many of them. I wanted to go back to school, but I can't afford it. I wanted to travel, to see the world, but that's something I'll have to save for years to do. I wanted to start my own business, but every time I think about putting money into that, I wonder how I'll pay rent if I don't have the security of my day job. It's the constant fear of the unknown, of what might happen next, that keeps me awake at night. I don't have the luxury of emergency savings because every penny I make gets swallowed by the bills. So, if something goes wrong, if I lose my job, if I get sick, if I have to move unexpectedly, I'll have nothing. And that thought keeps me up more than anything else. I try not to complain. I tell myself it's just part of being young, part of figuring life out. That everyone has to struggle. But it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel right. Why does it have to be this hard? Why is it so much easier for some people and so much harder for others? I often feel like I'm missing out on the normal parts of life, going out with friends, enjoying a weekend without having to look at my bank account every time I buy a coffee. My friends talk about their latest dates, their weekend getaways, and I just nod, pretending I can relate. I've learned to hide my anxiety. But it's getting harder, and sometimes I feel so alone in this, like no one else is struggling the way I am. And then there are the moments when I realize just how much I've had to sacrifice. I'm constantly thinking about what I can do without. How many nights I'll eat instant noodles, how many weekends I'll stay home, how many opportunities I've let go because I couldn't afford them. Every time I turn down an invite, every time I say no to something I want, a little piece of me dies. I've stopped telling myself it's temporary. Because, at this point, I don't know what temporary even means. I don't know if it's going to get better. I don't know when the financial strain will loosen its grip on me. All I know is that right now, it's constant. It's suffocating. It's like I'm being held underwater and expected to keep swimming without knowing if I'll ever make it to the surface. And yet, I keep going. I keep working, keep trying. I remind myself that things can't stay this way forever, that someday, maybe, I'll have the breathing room I need. Maybe I'll get that promotion, maybe the economy will turn around, maybe I'll finally be able to afford the things I put off. But until then, I'll keep navigating this sea of financial stress, trying to stay afloat, trying to survive. I'll keep holding on to the hope that there's something better ahead, even though it feels so distant. Because right now, that's all I have. The truth is, I don't know how long I can keep up this act of pretending everything's fine. But for now, it's all I can do. I don't have the luxury of breaking down or letting go. I don't have that option. So I carry on, one day at a time, hoping that somewhere, down the road, there's a version of me that isn't drowning in bills, that isn't constantly struggling. Until then, I'll keep swimming, even though I'm so tired of fighting the current. I woke up this morning to a buzzing phone. A text from my landlord, reminder, rent due tomorrow. It's always the same routine, that sinking feeling in my stomach as I realize how tight things are getting. The reminder is nothing new. Rent is always due. It's never late, because I make sure of it. But it doesn't change the fact that this month is going to be hard. Again. I sit up in bed, trying to shake off the heaviness in my chest. I stare at the ceiling for a while, wondering when it's going to stop. The cycle. The endless juggling of bills, grocery lists, and that constant sense of anxiety that follows me around like a shadow. I'm 26. I should be figuring things out, right? I should be thinking about my career, my future, maybe even planning for something bigger, like traveling, buying a car that doesn't sound like it's going to fall apart every time I hit a bump. But no. I'm just trying to survive. I force myself out of bed and get ready for work. My uniform is wrinkled, but it doesn't matter. I don't have the luxury of caring about how I look anymore. I'm lucky to even have this job. I work as a cashier at a grocery store, nothing glamorous, nothing I ever dreamed of doing. But it pays the bills, or at least most of them. I'm always behind, though, always playing catch-up. Every paycheck goes straight to bills, rent, utilities, student loans, groceries, and there's barely anything left for me. It's been like this for as long as I can remember. I used to think my degree would lead to something better. I worked hard, spent years studying, and left college with hope. But the economy doesn't care about degrees. Employers don't care that I spent countless nights writing papers or researching for exams. They want experience, which I don't have. So, I find myself standing in line at the grocery store, scanning items for customers, wondering what happened to that dream I used to have of a life beyond just surviving. I walk to the bus stop, which feels like a wasted journey every morning. I keep thinking that one day I'll have enough to afford a car, but every month I feel further away from that dream. I have to squeeze every dollar, making sure I buy only what I absolutely need, but even then, there are things I can't afford. I buy the cheapest food, and sometimes that means cutting corners on nutrition. I don't even remember the last time I had a proper meal, something that made me feel good. Mostly it's ramen, leftovers, whatever I can stretch to last until the next paycheck. Every time I'm at the store, I look at the items I can't buy, the things I'd like to treat myself to, a bottle of wine, fresh fruit, a nice pair of shoes. I glance at the prices and try not to linger. I tell myself I don't need them. And most of the time, I believe that. I've convinced myself that I'm okay with the bare minimum. But it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to go to work every day, interact with people who have no idea how stressful my life is, and then come home and feel like I've lost something every single time I check my bank account. And then there's the emotional toll. I've gotten really good at pretending everything's fine. I put on a smile and act like I'm okay, but inside, it's a different story. I feel trapped. The system feels designed to keep me in this place, where my expenses grow faster than my income, where every dollar is a battle. I try to save, but there's always something that comes up. A medical bill. A parking ticket. A car repair. Life doesn't care that I can't afford it. There's also the crushing weight of comparing myself to everyone else. My friends are buying homes, going on trips, getting promotions. It's hard not to feel left behind. Sometimes I lie in bed and wonder if I'm doing something wrong. I think about how much longer I can keep going like this. How long before I break? It's not that I don't work hard, I do. But it feels like no matter how hard I try, the system is stacked against me. I'm stuck. When I think about the future, I feel both terrified and exhausted. I used to dream about having my own place, maybe moving to a different city, starting a career that I'm passionate about. But all of that seems so far away. I've had to postpone so many things, traveling, going back to school, even dating. I'm too tired, too anxious, to even think about anything beyond making it through the day. I think about the trips I used to want to take, the places I wanted to see. But then I realize that those are just dreams now, things that seem impossible. I can't even imagine a life where I don't feel this weight pressing down on me. I tell myself that I'm okay, that I'll get there, that I just have to keep pushing. But some days, it's hard to believe. At work, I try to stay focused. It's easier when I'm busy, when I'm in the middle of a task. But when it's quiet, my mind drifts back to the reality of my life. The bills piling up. The rent due. The student loans. The pressure to be something, to be more than just a cashier, to be more than just a person trying to make it through each month. I try to cope with small moments of peace. I'll take a walk after work, or watch a TV show to escape. Sometimes, I just sit in my car, listening to music, pretending for a moment that everything is okay. But deep down, I know it's not. I know I'm not okay. I know I'm exhausted, and the weight of it all is wearing me down. I'm doing the best I can, but I don't know how much longer I can keep going like this. Some days, I just want to scream. To let it all out. To tell someone, anyone, how hard this is. But most of the time, I just keep it inside. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want anyone to pity me. So I keep smiling, keep pretending. Keep pushing forward. But the truth is, I'm drowning. Slowly, but surely. And I don't know how much longer I can hold my breath. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Another notification, another reminder that my rent is due in 2 weeks. The digital clock on my bedside table reads 7:45 a.m. I've never been a morning person, but my body is used to waking up at the crack of dawn, even when my alarm doesn't go off. It's like my mind is already on alert, knowing that each day brings another round of worrying about bills, deadlines, and if I'll ever have enough to get ahead. I groggily swipe the screen of my phone to dismiss the notification and scroll through a few emails. A couple of work updates, a reminder from my bank about the state of my account, and a few promotional emails about things I can't afford. The emails taunt me, each one an undercurrent of stress that sets the tone for the day. I've been trying to keep a positive outlook, but it's hard. Really hard. The world feels like it's moving faster than I can keep up, and every time I think I might catch a break, something new comes up, another bill, a car repair, a last-minute expense I didn't anticipate. It's all a blur of numbers and worry. The first thing I do after checking my phone is open my bank app. I don't know why I bother anymore. The balance never looks any better. It's like I'm chasing a horizon that gets farther and farther away the more I try to get closer. I see a small deposit from my paycheck, enough to cover groceries for the week, maybe. But that's about it. Rent? No. Utilities? Probably not. And don't even get me started on the credit card bills. I try to breathe and remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. But there's this constant pressure, this feeling of being trapped in a system that seems to favor everyone but me. I work hard, too hard, really. I'm working 50-hour weeks at a job I'm barely passionate about just to make ends meet. I used to have dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel, go back to school, maybe even start a little business of my own. But now, It feels like those dreams are locked away in a dusty drawer, a part of me that I don't let myself think about anymore. I force myself out of bed and head to the kitchen to make coffee. I can't live without it. Coffee is one of the few things that feels like a small luxury. But even then, I have to be careful. A fancy coffee shop drink might cost $6, and I can't afford that. So, I settle for what I have at home, instant coffee. It's not great, but it'll do. It always does. As I sip on my cup, I start to make a mental list of everything I need to get done today. My mind races through 1,000 things: work, groceries, figuring out how to pay the bill that's due in a few days. It's overwhelming, and the weight of it all pulls me down before I've even stepped out the door. I get dressed in the same clothes I've been wearing all week, a reminder that my wardrobe is one of the many things I haven't been able to update. I still wear the shoes that are a little too tight, the ones that hurt my feet by the end of the day but that I can't afford to replace. And the jacket I've had for years? It's a little worn, but it still does the job. It's funny how you start to justify things like that, the stuff you used to care about, the things that made you feel good about yourself. Now, they're just another thing to put off. Work is the same as it's always been: stressed, rushed, and draining. I've had a few conversations with friends about finding a better job, but the truth is, there aren't many options. The economy is in a rough place, and it feels like every place I've applied to is looking for more experience than I have or offering less pay than I can live on. And that's the reality: there aren't many good options for people like me. I'm stuck in this cycle, constantly working but never really getting ahead. Every raise I get feels like a drop in the ocean compared to the rising cost of living. It's as if the world is moving faster, and I'm stuck in place. After work, I stop by the grocery store. It's one of those moments where I try to stretch every dollar, calculating the cost of each item in my head before I toss it into my cart. I see people around me, casually tossing things into their carts without a second thought, and it's hard not to feel resentful. Why does it feel like everyone else has it easier? Why does it seem like everyone else can afford the things I have to scrimp and save for? I think about the things I've given up, the things I wanted to do, the places I wanted to go. I used to dream about taking a trip to Paris, or going on a road trip across the country. But now, those dreams feel like a distant memory. The money that could have gone towards saving for a vacation is now used for things like car repairs, rent increases, and medical bills. Every time I think I might be able to save for something big, an unexpected expense knocks me back to square one. It's like I'm running in place, giving everything I have just to stay afloat. There are moments when I let myself imagine a better future, maybe a career I'm passionate about, maybe owning a home, maybe just being able to breathe without constantly wondering how I'm going to pay the next bill. But those moments are fleeting. They're so far out of reach that it's almost easier not to dream at all. What's the point of having hopes when it feels like the weight of the world is always pulling me back? I sit down to eat dinner, ramen again, the cheap kind. It's not that I mind it. It's a comfort, in a way. But it's a reminder of what I've had to sacrifice, and the life I've been forced to accept. I stare out the window as I eat, the city lights blinking in the distance, and I wonder if things will ever get better. I try not to think too much about it. But deep down, I know I'm tired. Tired of working so hard for so little, tired of constantly feeling like I'm not enough. I'm exhausted by the constant cycle of hope and disappointment, of waiting for something to change. It feels like I'm stuck in this loop where every day is a repeat of the last, and every time I think I've made progress, something knocks me back down. But even in the midst of all this, there's a small part of me that refuses to give up. It's that tiny spark of hope that keeps me going, even when everything else feels hopeless. I don't know how much longer I can hold on to it, but I still believe that someday, somehow, things will get better. I have to believe that. For now, though, I'll keep going. Keep working, keep dreaming, just a little bit. I don't know if I'll ever get to where I want to be, but I have to keep trying. Because the alternative is just too hard to imagine. I wake up early, like I always do. The sunlight barely peeks through the blinds, but it's enough to pull me out of the comfort of my blanket. My phone buzzes with an alert, another bill due, another notification reminding me that I'm one step closer to being late, or worse, falling behind. I stretch, trying to shake off the heaviness that always seems to settle in my chest as soon as my eyes open. The day hasn't even started, and I already feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. It's funny how much of life revolves around money, how it shapes everything from the food I eat to the places I go, even the friends I keep. Every day is a calculation. How much can I spend today without risking overdraft fees? What can I cut out this week? Do I need to skip lunch to make sure I can fill up the gas tank? I tell myself it's temporary, that this struggle is just a chapter, but the longer I go on like this, the more it feels like I'm stuck in a loop, one that's getting harder to escape. I get out of bed and move to the kitchen, where the silence feels almost oppressive. My apartment is small, just enough space for me to exist, but even the walls seem to close in around me sometimes. The coffee machine hums to life, but it's not the comforting sound it used to be. Now, it's a reminder of the little luxuries I can barely afford. I've been drinking cheap coffee for months, cutting out almost every other form of indulgence. A few extra dollars here and there could mean the difference between keeping the lights on or facing another month of unpaid bills. I can feel the anxiety building up in my stomach as I scroll through my bank account. The numbers stare back at me, cold and indifferent. The balance is low, again. I know the drill by now. It's always this way. My paycheck comes in, and just as quickly, it's gone. Rent, utilities, credit card payments, groceries, all the things I need to survive take priority. And then there's the student loan repayment, which feels like an unending cycle of promises I'll never fulfill. I try not to think about the future. It's hard, though. I see my friends online, posting about new jobs, new apartments, vacations, and new beginnings. I can't help but feel left behind. How did they get there? How did they make it look so easy? My mind starts racing. Should I be doing something differently? Maybe I should pick up more hours at work. Maybe I should get a second job, though the thought of working more exhausts me. The grind is real, and the cost of living is only rising, faster than any increase in my income could ever keep up with. I pull on my jacket and head out the door. The walk to work is short, but it feels longer every day. The streets are busy, people hustling to get wherever they need to go, some with their heads down, others walking with a sense of purpose. I try to focus on the fact that I have a job, that I'm not completely in the red yet, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm running in place. At work, the pressure doesn't let up. My manager asks for a report, but I can't concentrate. I feel the weight of my worries creeping in at every turn. I try to focus on the tasks at hand, but it's hard when every decision, every action is clouded by thoughts of bills, student loans, and the fear of never catching up. It's strange how something as simple as a cup of coffee can become a luxury. I remember a time when I could go out for lunch or treat myself to something small, something that felt like a reward. Now, even the idea of spending a few extra dollars feels like a betrayal to my future self. I eat whatever I can find in the break room, usually leftover snacks from coworkers who bring in too much. Sometimes I feel guilty for taking it, as if I'm somehow stealing. But then again, what's the point in saving $1 if you don't have enough to get by? By the time the workday is over, I'm exhausted, physically and emotionally. But there's no time to rest. I go home to face the same routine. A few more hours of applying for jobs, trying to network, hoping for something that might give me a break. I think about my dreams, those things I once thought were attainable, that I once believed would come to fruition if I just worked hard enough. I've had to put most of them on hold, not because I've given up, but because surviving takes precedence over thriving right now. Some nights, I lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of all my decisions pressing down on me. I think about my parents, who have always worked hard and sacrificed for me. They never had much, but they made sure I didn't want for anything. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, that they would be proud of me. But it's hard to keep that in perspective when every day feels like one step forward, two steps back. I used to have big dreams, dreams of traveling, of owning a home, of having the freedom to make decisions without worrying about money. But now, it feels like those dreams are fading into the distance. I've learned to lower my expectations, to be okay with less. But deep down, I know I'm not truly okay. I'm just surviving. And that survival mode, the constant worrying, the constant pressure, has a way of wearing you down. I try to focus on the small victories. I've managed to keep my rent paid for a few months now without dipping into credit. That's something. I've figured out ways to meal prep and make meals last longer. And I've finally gotten my credit score to a place where I can start thinking about moving up in the world. But those wins feel so small when compared to the bigger picture. What gets me through the day are the fleeting moments of hope, the belief that things might improve, that one day I won't have to stress about every dollar, that I'll be able to chase the things I've always wanted. But the longer I live in this space of financial instability, the harder it is to keep that hope alive. I don't want to sound like I'm giving up. I'm not. I know there are ways out of this. People do it all the time. But sometimes, when you're in the middle of it, it feels impossible. The system is broken, and it feels like no matter how hard you work, the odds are stacked against you. I try not to think too far ahead. I try to take it one day at a time, one paycheck at a time. But that voice in the back of my head keeps telling me that I'm running out of time. That the dreams I've put off may never come true, not unless I somehow get lucky or find a way to break free from this cycle. I know I'm not alone in this. So many others are going through the same thing, working harder than ever just to stay afloat. We're all trapped in a system that doesn't seem to care about us, that doesn't care about the little guy. But somehow, I still keep pushing forward. Maybe that's the only thing I can do, keep going, even when it feels like there's no way out. Tomorrow is another day. Another chance to keep fighting. But for now, I'll just breathe and try to make it through the night. Some mornings I wake up and lie in bed longer than I should, not out of laziness, but because opening my bank app feels heavier than my body does. There's always that little dance between what I have and what I owe, what I need and what I want. The math never adds up in my favor. Rent's due in 4 days, my student loan payment cleared yesterday, and my credit card's at 94% utilization. My checking account? $112.38. My savings? That's the punchline, what savings? I'm 27. I graduated 5 years ago with a degree in communications that I thought would be my bridge into a solid career. I thought I'd be working in media or marketing, maybe doing some kind of storytelling. Instead, I bounced between contract gigs, freelance writing, and 2 part-time jobs, one at a bookstore, the other delivering groceries. None come with benefits. No healthcare, no paid time off, no security. Just hustle. I share a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate who's in a similar boat. We keep the thermostat low in the winter and high in the summer to save on utilities. Our fridge is mostly filled with frozen meals, eggs, and off-brand soda. On Sundays, we sit at the kitchen table and plan our meals for the week based on what's on sale at the store. Pasta and rice are the stars of our budget diet. Sometimes I stare at the shelves and wonder when I started measuring my worth by how many instant noodles I can buy for $10. Everything is more expensive now. Rent went up 8% this year. My health insurance through the exchange costs more than my car payment, so I've gone without. I keep hoping I won't get sick or injured. When my wisdom tooth started aching last month, I googled home remedies for tooth pain instead of seeing a dentist. Salt water and Advil are my healthcare plan. There's this weight I carry, not just in my body but in my mind. It's the constant pressure of knowing that I'm always a couple of bad weeks away from total collapse. One missed shift, one unexpected expense, one emergency, and the whole thing falls apart. I can't help but compare my life to what I thought adulthood would be. My parents weren't rich, but they had a house by their early 30s. They took vacations, they had insurance, they talked about retirement. I try not to resent them for that, but it's hard sometimes. The economy they built a life in doesn't exist for me. I remember dreaming big once. I wanted to travel, really travel, not just the kind where you scrape together a weekend in a nearby city and sleep on someone's couch. I used to talk about writing a novel. I had characters sketched out, plot ideas scribbled on napkins. Now, I write SEO articles for a content mill that pays 3 cents a word. I keep thinking, I'll work on the novel when things calm down, but they never do. There's always another bill, another shift to pick up, another fire to put out. I've learned to cope in small ways. I journal when I can, even if it's just a few lines at night before I fall asleep. I listen to podcasts while I deliver groceries so I don't feel so alone. I light a candle in my room when I'm feeling particularly low, lavender, if I can afford it. It's dumb, maybe, but it reminds me that I'm a person, not just a cog in some broken machine. I talk to my roommate, too. We've both cried at that kitchen table. It helps, having someone who gets it. I try not to lose hope. I still dream, quietly, cautiously. Maybe someday I'll get a full-time job with benefits. Maybe I'll finish that novel. Maybe I'll have a place of my own where I don't have to share a bathroom or worry about rent spikes. I still imagine falling in love and building a life with someone who doesn't mind that I budget everything down to the last dollar. I dream of security more than success now. A place to land, not a ladder to climb. There are moments that pierce through the fog, brief flickers of light. Like when I helped a regular at the bookstore find a book she'd been searching for and she smiled like it made her whole week. Or when I found a $20 bill on the sidewalk and treated myself to a real meal. It's pathetic, maybe, how much joy that gave me, but I held on to it. I have to. Because without those small sparks, it's easy to believe this is all there will ever be. I don't think I'm lazy. I don't think I'm entitled. I work hard, too hard, honestly, and I try to be smart with my money. But it feels like I'm stuck in a rigged game. Like the more I try to climb, the more the ladder pulls away. My generation is constantly told we need to save, invest, plan for the future, but how? With what? Every time I try to put money away, life finds a way to take it back. I want to believe it'll get better. That something will shift, that I'll catch a break, that all this scraping by will lead somewhere. But I'm tired. I'm so damn tired. And I know I'm not alone in this. I see it in my friends, in my coworkers, in the strangers on the bus hunched over their phones, checking their balances and sighing. We're all just trying to keep our heads above water in an economy that keeps rising like a tide we didn't cause and can't control. Still, I wake up. I show up. I keep going. Not because I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but because turning back isn't an option. Because even if the dream has changed, from chasing stars to just finding stable ground, it's still a dream worth holding on to. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.